We are back live in the living flesh. We actually did tape a show via the Zoom, and a couple of technical difficulties, so we're two men of the people. We figured we'd bring this to you live here. Time of taping is Saturday. We don't typically tape on Saturday, but not a lot of shit to do here in Michigan when there's 16 inches of snow on the ground and it's below zero. So here we are, coming back for a pretty good, what I would presume to be a pretty good UFC event. At least it has potential. It's not just a collection of, guys that could be, for all you know, selling fake Chinese Rolexes in Chinatown.
Yeah, we've been off for a month. So
been off for a month.
Dying for a fight here.
Dying for it. We've had a few COVID protocols pulled already, even on the fights that we covered on Tuesday when we taped. Good news is, and we kind of talked about this pre-show, we think that there's been enough time where Dana can backfill this. Michelle Pereira was one that came out. Was Pickett out now too?
Yeah, I believe so. Yep.
Pickett's off the card, so there's a few. And I think there, in all honesty, with COVID running around, there's probably going to be a few more. I think it might be time for Dana to maybe sync up over there in Abu Dhabi again and secure the bag on that for the next couple of months.
I feel like they have a little bit more control over the tests over there, too.
It's a little more control of the test, a little more quarantining, a little less shit to do, outside of it, so we'll see. Now, you may be asking yourself, why the fuck am I wearing this money suit?
Ooh, looking good.
If you watched our last show, I hit every single pick. Let me say it again. Every single pick, a 7-leg parlay. We do have proof of that as well, because I know you haters out there might think, he's just full of shit. No, I actually bet it too. So we'll make sure that we post that for your viewing pleasure. But without further ado, before we get into everything, is it free to like and subscribe?
For free.
So I gave you 7 wins last time.
7.
Count that again. 7. That doesn't happen. Doesn't happen. There's a reason that Vegas is the way that Vegas is.
A couple underdogs in there too.
Underdogs. It wasn't just 7 favorites. It was 7 victories. And if you don't like and subscribe just from getting that card on your ticket, getting that ticket, I don't know what you're doing. Anyhow, one of the good things about us being able to sit here, we went to the tape over there. We had our viewing section. We really dug deep on a couple of other fights that we want to bring you that we feel strongly about. Now, this first one, we don't actually feel that strongly about, but we think it's worth a sprinkle.
It's a fun one.
Yeah, if it was like a football for the football fans out there, if it was like a college football bowl game, it'd be the Gasparilla Hole in a Condom Bowl. We have Jake Collier versus Chase Sherman. Now, the guy that we're going with, or at least I'm going with, it's important to note, he is 3-7 and he has lost 5 of his last 6, actually, to be honest with you, if you want to even go past that ledger of 5. And Chase Sherman. And then we have Jake Collier, also loser of 3 of his last 5. Decent competition on the Collier side. If you're looking at it, he lost to Felipe, he lost to Aspinall. I don't think that there's a whole lot of negativity that would come from those 2 losses. Those are 2 very strong fighters. He did beat Valente. Again, not a lot to write home about beating him, as Valente, for those of you who don't know, he's the one that, was a buff guy, then gained a bunch of weight, and he's since retired in his last fight. I believe it was in the New York card.
Yeah, buff guy to fat guy, not a good play for MMA.
Got his ass whipped. But anyhow, let's get into the tape that we saw. What I liked about Sherman, first off, the guy lands 6 strikes per minute, which is, I think it's like second right now in the weight division. So that's a lot of volume that he puts out. You'd be shocked. I don't think that Collier's going to land a knockout here, which is why I think if it goes the distance, I think that Sherman's going to be the one that gets more, that outpoints him. Now, buyer beware, I don't really like Sherman's defense. He kind of stands straight up. He does do a good job of stalking. It looks like he likes to have the control of the fight. There is potential for, the punches to come through, as we've seen in some of his previous fights. They get right through his guard. He doesn't have a whole lot of defense. But again, I'm going to circle back to the volume. And you're getting an underdog. What do we have on the line on this one?
Looks like near even, +105, +110 I'm looking at.
I got it at -130 right now. Oh, I'm sorry, at +110, Chase Sherman. So you're getting a little bit of the plus money, a little bit more on your money back. I just don't think Collier deserves to be a favorite here. And I think it's worth a sprinkle, worth a test, maybe something to beef up a parlay, but not one I'm going to write home on. I am a little bit nervous on this one. I don't know if you have a different take here.
Man, I don't know if this helps him or hurts him, but one of those losses in his last 5 that you're talking about was a bare-knuckle boxing fight that he had lost. So, this guy's just a complete wild man. He's getting in there, fighting in bare-knuckle boxing. He's fighting UFC. he's lost the best, the old guy, the best of the best old guys, Andrei Arlovsky, and it's hard not to take
Saki. Sakai.
just the sloppiness that I think is going to happen in this fight. It's hard not to take the underdog on this one. It'll be a fun one. I think Chase Sherman's got the better tattoos of the two, a little bit more color in there.
Yeah. Tattoos do matter aesthetically.
Spend a little bit more on the quality of the artist, but I'm going to go with Chase Sherman taking the dog money on this one. It's a fun one. You got to watch it, try to enjoy some.
It's going to be sloppy. It's going to be sloppy. You're going to have to get invested on this fight to even watch it. To be real, I mean, both guys seem to air Merrill shit from fucking afar. I don't see anyone landing anything clean, which again circles back to the main point.
Right.
It's going to go to a decision, and I just think that Sherman will put out more volume, and that's the play there. Let's go to a chick fight. I know that you're the pontiff of female prognostics here. What do we got?
Yeah, man, with everything falling out, the first two fights tonight fell out. We got a women's fight kicking the night off, and we got Vanessa Demopoulos taking on
Britannica.
Yeah. Gomez Juarez. Now, Gomez Juarez, she has stepped in on a few fights, or one fight now where she fought Lupe Godinez, and she took the fight on short notice instead of fighting her Contender Series fight. And, the UFC likes to reward people like that. Now, same kind of thing happened. Vanessa's opponent dropped out. Gomez Juarez taking the fight on semi-short notice. I mean, there's been a month between fights here, but, taking it without a full camp. And you're getting some pretty good odds with our girl Vanessa. I really like her. She's the younger fighter. She's coming off a loss as well, but she's a little bit more experienced with higher levels. She's coming out of the LFA rather than the UWC, which I'm not too familiar with. I know I see the UWC a little bit when I'm breaking down the Contender Series fights. But I got Vanessa here. She's a little bit slight favorite, and I like her even with the favorite money.
Yeah, the only thing to point out, too, on this one, though, she does have a pretty sizable reach disadvantage coming in at 59 versus 65. Be on the lookout for that. But, again, I think that the age here is going to be a factor. I think there's a couple of things. What I did, I agreed with you on the previous show. I don't hate it. And, the money line, I think, is right on this one. So, I can't hate you for the pick. I'm not betting this one personally, but I think you're on the right side. If I was betting, I would bet with you. And maybe
this one might be scratched too. Now that I'm looking at it, it looks like it's taken off the board.
Well, that one's off the board, folks. See, this is the nice thing about live television, right there. So we're going to go ahead and just erase everything that we just said. But if it did happen, you'd go Vanessa, right? Different day. All right, so this one's going to be my dog pick. We got T.J. Brown versus Gabriel Benitez. Line, T.J. Brown at plus 165, Benitez coming in at negative 215. Now, when you break this thing down, and there's a couple of things. When you look at the striking numbers, it's pretty much even across the board. They both land about approximately 4 strikes per minute at a 40% clip of accuracy. Maybe you give a little bit of the defense to the Benitez side, but really nothing to write home about as far as their striking stats. Where I really feel strongly about this, and the biggest discrepancy when you're talking about total stats, is the grappling. T.J. Brown he does 4 takedowns per 15 minutes. That's huge. 2 with some control in 2 different rounds wins you the fight if you don't get knocked out. Think about DraftKings. We've said this many, many times. I'm going to say it many, many more. That scores you the most clout when it comes to grappling does. Scores you the most points on a DraftKings lineup. Great lineup piece there. But also, I think you got a good underdog at plus 160. Benitez doesn't even try to take anything down, and his takedown defense sitting at about in the 50 percentile. I think that's going to be the difference. I think I think the fight will start off. They might feel each other out. Maybe he tags him, Benitez tags him back. But ultimately, T.J. Brown has that second thing that he can fall back on. Yeah. And I think he's going to do it. He might go for it early. Who knows? And if you're coming in, you get that control time. Does Benitez have the power to knock him out? Who knows? I also like coming off a Kai Kamaka win. T.J.
That's a good win.
That's a really big victory for him. On the Benitez side, he's coming off a loss. So, optically, I think I would probably take T.J. Brown if he was the favorite. But now I'm getting plus 160. Sign me up.
Yeah, it's a weird line for me on this one. I don't understand what they're doing with that one. I like TJ as well. I was trying to look at where they got him ranked so low on Tapology. I don't understand. He's not getting any love. I mean, that Kai Kamakav win is definitely a good win. So I like TJ here as well.
Benitez did lose to our boy Billy Q. You know, no shame in that.
Billy Q is a tough dude.
I'm a fan of Billy Q, even though he did lose his last fight. But I think he's a good fighter, a very active fighter. But I think that Benitez might run into a very similar fighter and a very similar result here. So, that's the play. Now, this next one was one that we added on after reviewing the tapes, and I really, really feel strong about this. I love where the line is placed. I think this is one of those, and I don't say this every fight. This is one of those where I think just Vegas got it wrong. Albeit he's a favorite, Jordanson Burrito versus Bill Algeo. It's kind of like LG, but LGO. Bill Algeo doesn't do. First off, I'll talk about Bill. He doesn't do anything that really wows me. First off, he fights. If you watch his previous fights, he fights with his hands down, which I think is a problem. And if you watch Burrito, especially his on the Contender Series, this guy throws with very bad intentions. I thought he had a very good gas tank, and he was brilliant at level changes, the takedowns, the whole nine. At -125, you're getting a steal on this price.
Oh, yeah. I really like this one at -155. I mean, you're getting a favorite that should probably be closer to -200.
Winner was last five, too.
Last five, he's coming up. He come hot into the Contender Series. As long as he doesn't poke our boy Algeo in the eyes too many times, I don't see how he doesn't get the win here. Tough Brazilian. I mean, they say he's 26. He looks about 36. And he's ready to roll when he gets out there, man. He's coming to kill somebody.
Plus, Bill Algeo didn't look like he had very good takedown defense either. And this guy, I mean, he's like a Swiss Army knife in there.
This guy sinks in deep and takes a power double to the next level.
Yeah, and he fought in his Contender Series too. He got wrapped up in some pretty nasty looking submissions. Got right out of it. Fought. He's one of those guys when he's on the ground, he's always moving. He doesn't sit there like a wet blanket and just chill. And volume fighter, I do think this is one where he's going to score a knockout just simply because of, circling back to the first thing I said, Algeo just keeps his hands down, and he's going to be putting himself out there for some mega hard power coming through. And then even if he does land, even let's say Algeo comes in and lands a couple of good ones, he's going to get taken down. Yeah. Bottom line, I just don't see even a remote chance that Algeo wins this one at -125. This is a fucking pound for me.
Yeah, this might
be a 5-piece. For me, I don't know, 5 units.
Yeah, I mean, the bright lights of the UFC
bet.
might be the only thing that I'm worried about on this one. His UFC debut, that's the only thing that I could see standing in the way of this guy getting an ass whipping.
Yeah. One point of note, too, and we did give this on the previous show, and I love betting this with this guy. He fights for the card. I think there's certain gatekeepers in the UFC, that I think are auto fades. Like Cowboy Cerrone is one that comes to mind. Like,
yeah.
He's a shit gatekeeper. He just is good at losing. I'll fade him all day. Kelleher's tough. He's not going to be that guy that I think ever makes a UFC run. But I think he's a very solid gatekeeper that just goes in there and gives 100% every time he fights. He's coming in at +130. Kakramanov, which I love the last name, coming in at -162, albeit I think that, he has Kelleher in every statistical category. Probably will get his hand raised, but I just laying 162 versus Kelleher, I don't like it. But I can't go with Kelleher because this isn't a good matchup for me on his side either.
I got you. Oh yeah. So what is this? A stay away for you?
Stay away,
man. Kelleher with that plus money, it's hard not to want to sprinkle that in a little bit though. You got a guy coming off a nice win on his UFC debut, and then Kelleher. That's a big step up in competition for him. So you're getting a big step up in competition with the plus money, +135 for Kelleher. I would take Kelleher on this one.
For those that don't know, Kelleher was supposed to fight Sugar Sean. He was the one that they had originally inked to do that. I don't know what had happened or why that maybe it fell through or whatever the case may be. But that's the level that that's the prism that the UFC looks at Kelleher through. Just to if you don't know the name, just so you're aware, he is a step up in competition. I think this is going to be a good fight. Definitely one to look at, but I think it's going to be one that I just look at and enjoy. I don't need to bet to have. I don't need to have a horse in the race to enjoy it, so to speak. So now moving on, I want to talk about Michel Pereira for just a minute because he's off the board right now. One of my most exciting fighters to watch. You know, they had him up against a Russian, which I thought might be a trap fight because you might be thinking it was a Russian grappler. No, it was a boxer. He doesn't even try to do takedowns or any form of grappling. So, not to mention Pereira has 100% takedown defense. He's a very hard guy to take down and keep down. He's just an athletic body. I'm really, really hoping that he gets put back on the board. But again, it might be a buyer beware because I feel like if you give someone short notice versus someone like Pereira, you're not going to get a good line.
Yeah.
I mean, you're probably going to be north of 200 on the line, and then you have to worry about the backflips. So
he starts going at it, huh?
I'll keep an eye on that. If it's over 200, you know, that's a little steep for me on a backflipper. Under 200, you know, I'm going to bet it. That'll probably be what it is. Maybe we'll release a TikTok or a short on that one to kind of let you know how we play it.
I bet you Nico Price would take a last-minute replacement to get that L back. I think he would. I think he would.
I wouldn't mind seeing the rematch.
Nico Price is a maniac. You know that.
Yeah, I mean, like we said, there's enough time to backfill that fight, and I think you need to because that's a co-main that I really think shaped this card. Taking Pereira off makes the card significantly worse, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that, man. I hope they're searching for somebody. I mean, they gave him about 10 days if they got somebody right when that fight got pulled out. So 10 days, you've seen people taking on shorter notice.
10 days with no fights for the last month, basically. Yeah. I mean, so you probably have a bevy of people to pick from. Just
right.
Hand with a napkin, put a price on it, and say, hey, you want to go in here and step in? But the other side of the coin is Pereira's a fucking difficult. That's a tall order to step in short notice and fight that guy.
Right.
Just the pure athleticism that you have to deal with in there. Where it would be interesting though, if he gets a good grappler, if he goes up against a good grappler, I might, rethink the way that I look at that because definitely questions with the gas tank. And grappling's the way that you get him. If you're going to go in there and swing with this guy, he's just you can't, even if you back him up on the cage, he kicks off the cage. Just so athletic, you're not going to get close to him. I just don't see anybody beating him in a boxing or in a striking match, so to speak. He's a good kicker too. But interested to see what's going on. But for now, he's not on the card, so we will move on. Again, I'm going to give you the floor because I think we are to a women's MMA bout.
Oh, a women's MMA rematch too on top of it. So we're looking good here. A couple of girls that are probably right at almost to the top of the division. Caitlyn Hagan versus Jennifer Maia. Now, Maia got pretty much pieced up on the feet there last time out, and Hagan could kind of keep her distance and do what she wanted with her. Got a good win over her. And I think it's going to be a lot of the same this next fight. Hagan can really keep the distance, and I know she's been working on her grappling. She has some submission underground fights coming. I think she's even lost them. But, she's paying attention to what she needs to do to make sure she doesn't get finished in a fight on the ground. I'm sure she's not going to go out there and try to take down Jennifer Maia, but she's going to, if she does get on the ground, she's not going to flail around and not know what she's doing. So I like that a lot. I think she's making all the right moves to get to the top of the division. Maybe the top 2 or 3 girls are going to be a real hard fight for Caitlyn in the future, but I think she gets past Maia the same way she did the first time. Tough elbows off the top, keeping her distance, keeping the distance with that length that she has. What has she got? Let's see. We got almost a 4-inch reach advantage, so I think she's going to really put that to the test. Maia's striking is just not where it needs to be to get into someone like her, and I feel like she's not good enough at cutting the distance and getting the people on the ground when she's in these striking matches to do anything.
That's it right there. I mean, like, you just nailed it. Furthermore, Maia's not going to go take Chikadze down, and that's what it's going to take. That's the path to victory on her at current state in her UFC career. Again, Chikadze, her loss was to when she was taken down, much stronger fighter. Wore her down. She didn't really know what she was doing, and as you said, with the underground stuff, it seems like she's really understands that's a hole in her game, and she's working on it. But in this fight, I don't think any of that matters. You know what I mean? She, on the feet, Chikadze just fights at such a distance with so much volume, in and out traffic. That two-way pressure. She'll kick you, she'll punch you. And I think this matters. Some people might think I'm just full of shit, but I like how she's loud when she punches. I think it really sets that tone. I think it gets in your opponent's head, and I think it scores with the judge. I really do. I mean, every time she's ah.
Well, yeah, you hear and then thud. Thud.
And
that's a landed punch.
It's like every time she does that, it lands in the in the judge's hand. And when you're betting women's MMA, you really need to be thinking about who gets their hand raised at the end with via decision.
Right, yeah.
You just aren't going to see a lot of knockouts. And quite frankly, if you were going to see a knockout here, I would say I would go on Team Caitlyn anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe a TKO or something along those lines. But either way, I just think this is an easy matchup. Line's perfect for me at -180. I'll take her anything under 200 all day.
Yes.
I don't mind laying the chalk. Maya, I think she's just on the way out. It's probably... Maybe you see this the digression. She's lost 2 of her last 5, or two out of her last 5, so she's like 3-2 in the look back. Not horrible, but I just like even the strength of competition. I like the Chikadze inside as well. So who knows? We'll see. Maybe this one bites us in the ass. Maybe it sets up for a great rematch. But I think we're both Caitlyn there. Now. Last time we taped this, we are to the main. Did you want to discuss any other ones?
I'm ready for the main dish.
We were on opposite sides. Now, I don't know, maybe through that, maybe I sold you on it, because I'm staying on the same side that I was on.
You're staying?
We'll see. Where are you at?
See, I did a little bit more research, because you did make some compelling arguments when we were chatting about this last time. And, man, I went back and I watched Giga beat the hell out of Edson Barbosa and saw the speed that this man brings to the standing fight. And I went back. I don't think you can get much of a read off of Calvin Kattar's fight against Max Holloway. Max Holloway's just next level. A solid number 2 at the division. His boxing is just unbelievable. But the thing I don't like about Calvin is he stood and tried to win that boxing match with Max Holloway the whole time. He never tried to take it to the ground. Nothing like that, and that's where Giga is his best, when somebody doesn't try to take him to the ground. He's got the speed, he's got the strength, he's got the knockout power, and if you're not grinding on him and putting him on the mat and putting him against the cage and he doesn't lose his gas tank, I don't see anybody out-striking this guy in the division. Now, Ortega or Volkanovski, some of those guys that you got to really worry about, they're wrestling and taking you down. That's when I see him having a little bit of trouble. But anyone that's just going to stand with him, I think Giga's the best kickboxer in the division. So I'm going to lay a little chalk. What do we got him about -200 right now?
Yeah.
Minus
215. Time of
215. I put him in a couple parlays already.
I think a couple books actually have him over 220, because the one I'm looking at right now, we have Kattar at +170, but I had 100 on DraftKings. I think I saw him at +190 and -220.
Yeah, it looks like that line's all over the place.
It's moving a little bit. I think they're getting as more and more action comes on, it's inevitable that one's going to move. It's the main card.
Yeah.
This one's interesting to me because, and make no mistake about it, I'm a big Giga Chikadze fan. I took him versus Barbosa when most people did not. Other YouTube channels that do betting shows. Maybe I thought maybe I was riding in the wind on this one, but the reason that I took him in that previous fight versus Barbosa was twofold. First off, Barbosa's previous fight, I thought he looked a little aged. You know what I mean? I didn't think that he had enough volume to put out to get a decision. Quite frankly, I didn't see him scoring a knockout. I thought Giga could, if he didn't score the knockout, he could still get his hand raised. Now, one thing that's important to note about Giga, he's not a volume. He doesn't throw a ton of stuff. He's not a volume fighter. It's like just over 3 strikes per minute, but he's an accurate one. That's also, it's not like necessarily a power, but it's like he just hits you in the right spot. Kind of like, what's a good comparison? I don't even want to.
Maybe Connor, he's real precise.
Precise, yeah, very accurate puncher. Whatever the case, I had a name, but I was filibustering, and now it's just out of my head. But he's a very accurate striker. I like the question mark kicks, and he can pinpoint those kicks very well. There's no question about it. But one thing I did take from the Max Holloway fight is that Kattar can take it, and he can take it, and there's no quit in this man. I think he took the right amount of time off, too. A year off makes sense to me. He fought last January, he's fighting this January, and after he took a total, I believe it was like 456 total strikes, which is a lot. But after a year off, you got time to reflect, you got time to heal your wounds. You might come back in there. He's the right age at 32, 33 years old. I think he's still in his prime, and he's kind of where Giga was. Or where Giga was when he fought Holloway. It was like that next step. He beats Holloway, now he's in contention. Now Giga's there. I think both guys have a lot to lose and a lot to gain, which makes this extremely exciting. But for me, I just think that Kattar's going to have more volume. I'm banking that Giga's not going to land that knockout kick or punch. And if he doesn't, I don't see him get his hand raised. And let's not make a mistake about it. I mean, this is the thing that you probably maybe have forgotten. Kattar is a very good boxer. Like, don't let Max Holloway could do that to anybody that wants to go in there and box with him. Kattar is a good boxer. He has a lot of power, and he could equally, knock out Chikadze just as much as Chikadze can knock him out. But then I'm just going to what's that next layer? Who gets the decision? And at plus 170, I just think I got to take a sprinkle on this. Now, I'm not overly confident here. This isn't one that I'm saying let's do a tequila bet, Dave. I'm not going to give you the favorite side on this one, but I think it's worth a sprinkle. I think I'm going to sprinkle a couple of units on this, sit back and pour myself a stiff drink and hang on tight for the ride. But I think Calvin has a little bit more left in the tank. And I think later rounds you're going to really see, if Giga's reaching for a crazy knockout kick. When I've got 2-3 rounds under my belt, I see the longer this fight goes, the more it goes in Kattar's favor, and I'm on the plus 170 side.
Yeah, man, I can never hate that underdog pick. The underdog money definitely is always a good play in my book, but man, I'm going to stay with Giga here. But man, what a fun main event for UFC card after a month off, man. I'm just jonesing for some UFC fights.
Yeah, just to sit down, bet them, watch them, see what's going on. I think we got a couple of good ones. We're hoping Pereira gets back in there. But again, please like and subscribe. It does us wonders. Our contact said it was free to do that.
For free.
It literally doesn't affect you.
Yeah, dude.
We're not like, it won't even blow up your inbox. Like we post shows like once or twice a week, and we just give you the bets. So it's like when you get the notification, it's like, oh, here's how, it's like an ATM. You just hit that, oh, here's my bets, money in my bank. That's simple. Why the fuck wouldn't you do it?
Dude, and you haven't just been hot last card when you hit 7 and also have the parlay to show that all 7 of your picks hit. Don't forget the time before that we did the $50 betting challenge. You turned $50 into $524.
That one I got a little lucky.
I mean, still, you get lucky. You get lucky. That's $524. What's that, like 5,000% gain on the Poirier Oliveira card? I mean, what a great, you've been just on fire lately. So, I mean, fading you in the main event, I'm kind of holding my butthole and you got
the neg 215 side. So I mean, you're not.
Well, you've been beating Vegas, so Vegas don't have too much to say.
We'll see what happens. But that is a good point. The $50 challenge. Please post your success stories. If you have any issues with some of the fights that we've picked, we love to hear it. Or maybe likes, comments, or maybe you agree with us. Whatever. Share it with the class. We don't get enough comments current time where, we're not going to not comment on it. We love to engage in the conversation. This is what we do. And I'm assuming if you're watching the show, you enjoy MMA as well.
We love talking shit, too. I'll come after you.
Yeah, we'll come after you. All love, no hate. You know what I mean? But that is all we have. We might do another update yet again next week because, like we said, with COVID flying, you never know what's going to happen with some of these. Whether it be a short or just another show on Tuesdays. So stay tuned. You're going to have to like, subscribe to get that notification. But we appreciate. Shalom, my friend.